Morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's a little overcast today here, but that is completely fine. Just finished my vibe for the morning, which has been absolutely amazing. We got some exercise done, some personal development. We also did some talking about what the difference is between when we persevere and we achieve something and when we don't, and the fact that we can either come at something from fear and then it makes it more challenging for us to achieve that goal, or we come from it with a position of love, which can be extremely powerful. And Trey is in the house in BIGO saying hello. So we're going to say hello back and follow. So now that Trey is here and some other people are also joining in, I've got Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've got it in Chinese, but I don't have the English version. I am learning Chinese, but I know that you don't speak Chinese, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to read the Art of Thinking Clearly. We're up to chapter 72. I think we might need to start another book tomorrow, and I'll put the link so that you can actually get the Art of Thinking Clearly if you want to read the rest for yourself. I think there might be some copyright issues if I read the whole book to you, so we'll have to see how we go. And Imogen is asking whether this is my first time on BIGO. It is definitely not. I'm already up to chapter 72. I have done quite a few BIGO lives, but thank you for asking. Okay, I'm going to get into reading because I know that everybody has goals to achieve, things to do. So, chapter 72, why we take aim at young guns, the social comparison bias. As one of my books reached #1 on the bestseller list, my publisher asked me for a favor. An acquaintance's title was on the verge of entering the top 10 list, and the publisher was convinced that a testimonial from me would give it the necessary push. It always amazes me that these little testimonials work at all. Everybody knows that only favorable comments end up on a book's jacket. The book you hold in your hand is no exception. A rational reader should ignore the praise or at least consider it alongside the criticism, which is always available, albeit in different places. Nevertheless, I've written plenty of testimonials for other books, but they were never for rival titles. I hesitated. Wouldn't writing a blurb be cutting off my nose to spite my face? Why should I help somebody who might soon vie with me for the top slot? As I pondered the question, I realized social comparison bias had kicked in. This is the tendency to withhold assistance to people who might outdo you, even if you look like a fool in the long run. Book testimonials are a harmless example of the social comparison bias. However, the phenomenon has reached toxic levels in academia. Every scientist's goal is to publish as many articles as possible in the most prestigious scientific journals. Over time, you make a name for yourself, and soon editors ask you to assess other scientists' submissions. In the end, often just 2 or 3 experts decide what gets published in a particular field. Taking this into account, what happens if a young researcher sends in an earth-shattering paper that turns the entire department on its head and threatens to knock them off their thrones? They will be the especially rigorous when evaluating the article. That social comparison bias hard at work. This is a very interesting one because there's also a phenomenon where people talk about the fact that if you want to move up in your career, what you need to do is not hinder the person who is going to take your position, but actually give them information and help them to take your position so that when you get moved up, they know that they're going to promote you before somebody else because you already have somebody to replace yourself. Somebody who doesn't, somebody who hinders everybody from learning what they need in order to be able to take their own position is not going to be able to move up because there is no replacement, and the company is going to struggle with that, and they're going to find that extremely difficult. So this is a really interesting concept. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rolf says about it so that I can add some commentary at the end because I have some other things perhaps to share if he doesn't do the same thing and say the same things I'm thinking. The psychologist Stephen Garcia and his fellow researchers described the case of a Nobel laureate who prevented a promising young colleague from applying for a job at his university. This may seem judicious in the short term, but in the long run, it is counterproductive. What happens when that young prodigy joins another research group and applies his acumen there? Most likely preventing the old institution from maintaining its world-class status. Garcia suggests that social comparison bias may well be the reason why hardly any research groups remain at the top for many years in succession. The social comparison bias is also cause for concern with startup companies. Guy Kawasaki was chief evangelist at Apple for 4 years. Today he's a venture capitalist and advises entrepreneurs. Kawasaki says, A players hire people even better than themselves. It's clear, though, that B players hire C players so they can feel superior to them. And C players hire D players. If you start hiring B players, expect what Steve Jobs called the bozo explosion to happen in your organization. In other words, start hiring B players and you end up with Z players. Recommendation: hire people who are better than you. Otherwise, you soon preside over a pack of underdogs. The so-called Dunning-Kruger effect applies to such Z players. The inept are gifted at overlooking the extent of their incompetence. They suffer from illusionary superiority, which leads them to make even more thinking errors, thus creating a vicious cycle that erodes the talent pool over time. While his school was closed due to an outbreak of plague in 1666 to 1667, 25-year-old Isaac Newton showed his professor Isaac Barrow what research he was conducting in his spare time. Barrow immediately gave up his job as a professor and became a student of Newton. What a noble gesture. What ethical behavior. When was the last time you heard of a professor vacating his post in favor of a better candidate? And when he was the last time you read about a CEO clearing out his desk when he realized that one of his 20,000 employees could do a better job? Not very likely when you're getting over 100 million in pay or a certain number of millions in pay, plus stock options, of course, and bonuses. In conclusion, do you foster individuals more talented than you? Admittedly, in the short term, the preponderance of stars can endanger your status. But in the long run, you can only profit from their contributions. Others will overtake you at some stage anyway. Until then, you should get in the up-and-comers' good books and learn from them. This is how I wrote the testimonial in the end. So I find this very interesting because, one, I always believe that what goes around comes around. So if you do a good deed for somebody, whether that person is somebody who is better than you or not, it doesn't really matter. If you do good deeds for people around you, it will come back to you. So I teach cash flow and we run cash flow games once every 2 weeks. And the interesting thing around it, we're actually playing next Tuesday, by the way. So get in touch if you'd like to know more about that. We have actually taken the game to a whole new level, but I digress. What goes around comes around. And when I played cash flow, I used to have friends who were extremely successful, and I actually helped them get that start. They told me many times that because of me having a cafe and running a cafe, my idea was to franchise, but I ended up getting in some trouble with my landlords, which was very funny in the end. But I actually was happy to help them, and I used to run my cash flow games at their cafe. And they ended up having multiple cafes, so they set up a much better business model than I did. And I was very happy to support them, and that relationship has blossomed and led to many other opportunities for me. So I absolutely agree. And I'm just going to quickly do this. So it is very good for us to be able to support other people if we think that they are competent. And yes, we might want to think that we are competent ourselves, and we probably are. But it's good to be able to support the people who might be a little bit more competent or who are going to be able to support us in other ways, because I have my flaws, but adding other smart people to my group is going to create a bigger and better whole overall. So I thought that was a very interesting chapter. I love reading for you, and I am very grateful that you come and join me here. So thank you for that. If you want to watch more of these videos and other chapters that I've read and given my commentary on, you can do that at the Passive Cash Flow Club on YouTube. And I'd love to see you there and love to get your commentary on that. If you want to get in touch personally, you can go to Instagram, see what I'm up to, find out about that cash flow game that I was telling you about. And you can do that on business_team_the number 6_official, and you will find me there. You can see what kinds of things I'm up to, the pictures I post, obviously, and other things that I do. And you can also DM me and meet me there. I would very much like to get in touch with as many of you as possible, because I really enjoy the process of meeting you all. It's one thing to just see you on BIGO on the screen, or like Mladen, who's just joined on Zoom, to meet you that way. It is another thing to be able to meet you in person on a private message and get to know you personally, which I'd really love to do. So feel free, either go to YouTube, the Passive Cashflow Club, or you can go to Instagram and get in touch with me there at business_team_6_official. I am looking forward to seeing you there. Have an amazing weekend. And thank you for coming to join for these readings. Reading is so beneficial, and it's a great motivator to the start of the day. Now we can all go and achieve our goals for the day. And so I'm very grateful for you to join. And I love reading for you. So please come back and enjoy some more reading starting on Monday. And I will leave it as a surprise as to what we'll be reading. So that will be extremely good. And Milan has just left a message, and he says that he's going to call me now. So I will let him do that. I'm going to leave you to it. I'll go and have a chat with Milan, and then have an amazing day, everybody. And remember, you don't have to achieve your whole goal today, but take another step forward, and every day take a step forward towards your goals, and you will eventually get there.